tonight on LFG.
All the damn work I put in with you.
LuFisto.
What can you do with this person who's new so they look good, you look good, and everybody's safe?
Might as well put him in a black leather jacket and a black hat.
Jeff Lippman.
It looked like she was too slow for school, but she came out playing the hot mean girl.
That looked really good.
Fry them, put them in a stew. Boil them, fry them, put them in a stew. Boil them, fry them, put them in a stew. Boil them, fry them, put them in a stew. Boil them, fry them, put them in a stew.
Boil them, fry them, put them in a stew. Boil them, fry them, put them in a stew. Boil them, fry them, put them in a stew. This is the Wrestling Stew from the Wrestling Soup. This is the LFG recap. We go over every contestant, every coach. We have a special guest. But first, he is the lawyer extraordinaire, Mr. Jeff Lippman. Oh, I'm LuFisto, by the way. Hello. And hi, Jeff. How are you? Can you tell us more about you? Well, more, I don't know what you did this week, but also present our amazing, fabulous guests.
Why, yes, LuFisto, I can do all of those things. Thank you, Legend, for that introduction. Yeah, I'm Jeff. And this week, it's not just the judges and the contestants that are getting boiled and put in the stew. Lou and I might make our way into the stew. We might be some of the ingredients. Who knows? Oh. We'll find out. Yes, our special guest is an organizational, a psychologist in infrastructure, right? Infrastructure? Informational information psychologist, Dr. Gina Possin. I know I botched everything after just confirming it 30 seconds ago, but that's sort of what I do. Anyway, Dr. Gina is a psychologist, a wrestling fan, and a woman. So it's like, my goodness, it's like, this is like, what a hat trick we have here. It's like guest all-star break here. So welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much. I'll take the second half of that as such a compliment.
Yeah, no, it's again, and this show is our retrospective on, sort of a lot of things that happened. And during the course of the season, Lou and I have engaged in what I call dime store psychology, involving contestants, headspace, interrelationships, the coaches, coaching styles, the pairings, etc. And about 6 weeks ago, I asked you if you were willing to be involved in this retrospective, and you said yes. So that is great. And then you started watching LFG. I think you actually started rewatching it to pay particular attention. And you even listened to a couple of our episodes. So that's great as well. But yeah, I mean, tell the folks a little bit about yourself for anybody who doesn't know you. I know you've been on other shows, I know, and which is great. You're not exclusive to us yet, but yeah, tell everyone a little bit about yourself and what you do and why your training makes you the perfect person to advance in our LFG finals to do the retrospective.
Absolutely. Thank you. So my name again is Dr. Gina Possin, and I'm an industrial organizational psychologist. I have a degree in general psychology with an emphasis in industrial organizational psychologist, a PhD. And I've worked in that field for 15 years, probably longer than that. And I also teach that field as well. I direct and teach a master's program in IO psychology, and I've done that for 10 years. So what is IO psychology? That's really psychology of the workplace. So how do humans perform better? How do we motivate people? How do we look at teams, groups, leadership, all of that good stuff? And so what I thought would be fun is, since I do have such a love for wrestling and other sports as well, I do this with other sports too, but mainly wrestling right now, that's also a workplace. It's a workplace for athletes. So why not take those same principles and apply it there? So that is why I am qualified to talk about this.
Well, you know what I have to say to that?
What's that?
LFG.
Yes. And I agree.
So our first coach, I'll go like alphabetically, little French, can't say it. But we'll start with Bubba Ray Dudley. What I've noticed about him, like, and we said it throughout the show, he's really old school, tough love, prove me wrong kind of deal. You have to make him care about you before he gives a shit. And I found, like, I think he's not really suitable to train pretty girls because he can't see the flaws and the mistakes. That's my dime psychology about Bubba Ray. Anything else you guys would like to add? If as Edge's songs say, I see clearly, or I'm in the left field in my baseball team sucks is about to be sold to somewhere else like the Expos, and I don't know, let me know if I'm close to what you guys notice about Bubba. Or
well, about 2 cents. One, obviously, we're going in kayfabe alphabetically because Mark Calloway is it is first name The, last name Undertaker. So I agree with much of what you said about Bubba. I mean, especially I found him to be Zena blind, especially. But also Bubba had a style that is different than all the others. So I'm going to call it weird or abnormal only because I have no other frame of reference other than the 5 judges, including Mickey James from last year, and the few interactions of sort of guests that they've had on the show. Bubba was sort of like a hard ass, but I'm not sure that he's really a hard ass. Like it almost seemed like he was working. I'm not sure if that's really him or really not, at least in this context. So it felt in some ways ineffective because he was sort of like, especially, he had Zena season 1 and season 2, he seemed, almost smitten. I'm not saying necessarily romantically, but he was, he was already ready to anoint her. And he's not the only one that was like that with their teammates, but he approached it so much differently. It's like he had a wake-up call 3/4 into the season. But like, if I sensed that he was being fake, am I wrong or am I right? Because I would think that his mentees, his students, would have felt that he was being a little bit fake, or maybe in the moment, given their ages, given their experience in the situation, there's no way they'd pick up on any of that. I guess the question I'm asking to you, along with Lou's, if you ever listen to Mike Pesca, The Gist, he has a segment once a month where he says, is that bullshit? And so, Dr. Gina, what I said, is that bullshit?
No, I think both of you are somewhat on the money. So your dime store psychology is working out for you. To give you the actual psychology, we'll say, is Bubba's very much a transactional leader. So that's the actual style of leadership I was noticing from him. And what that is very highly rules-based. It's very effective, really, in clear, high-pressure situations. So, this is what you need to do. If you can give me this is what you're going to get. And it's just, it's a black and white situation, basically. There's not really a lot of feel good about it kind of a thing, but there's also not a lot of the harshness that comes with some types of leadership. So it's really just a transaction, and that's why it's called transactional, So I got that from you, LuFisto, like when that was kind of what you were trying to say, I think. And it's also great for athletes who thrive under structure, counterproductive, but however, for those that need like autonomy or encouragement. So what we'll talk about with a lot of these is, was there a good fit for some of these with their mentors, some of the wrestlers with the mentors? And that might be something in the future, if they listen, that they could take a look at, and instead of drafting, is taking a look at who fits best with who and how that might help them out even more. Now, from a kayfabe standpoint, it might not matter because we're just, we're putting together a show. Sometimes that conflict, or where it just doesn't, you have those like I mean, BJ and Bubba, like that made for good TV, right? So they didn't work well together, and that made for good TV. So sometimes you want to have that little bit that doesn't work well together, but you know,
You got to throw in a little bit of Teresa Giudice.
yeah.
For those who don't know, she's from the Real Housewives of New Jersey.
Oh, yeah. Once you said that, I would, oh yeah, that's right. That's who that is.
She's the one who flipped tables. So
Yes. Yeah. Sometimes you need that.
Bubba tables works together. Like, yep.
Well, don't get her started on that. We're gonna
you know what? Something occurred to me that wasn't on my list, so I want to ask you about this because, like episode 1, Bubba gave Drake Moreau the opportunity of being on his team, and Drake Moreau rejected it, feeling that Bubba wasn't the right person for him. And I thought that was very courageous, very ballsy, and I hope that it wasn't something that was scripted. I just wanted to know about your quick thoughts on that. You know, I have a whole lot of other thoughts about Drake, but they're all basically positive, so it's boring for this show. So I'm not going to say them.
I think that was a real growth moment for him, actually. And I think that's kind of where we see like a change start for him is, you know, he really said, I need something else. And the fact that he ended up back with Bubba was I thought kind of perfect to be honest. So I wonder if that was all planned. You know, you never know what's planned and what's not planned with all of this. And so, or at what point they plan things. But when I watched that, I thought, wow, sometimes when I'm watching, I'm looking for the body language and the reactions and you can a lot of times tell what is manufactured and what is an actual reaction. And Bubba looked a little bit taken back by that. So I actually don't know if that was planned. I actually think that he was taken back because I don't think he expected that. So I think that was huge for Drake, though, to make that decision.
Well, that also means he was stuck with BJ Ray. So that wasn't planned also. So it's sort of, we have our own little beautiful accidents. So, okay. You know, I wasn't planning to bring that up, but it struck me. So anyway, I don't mean to derail the flow.
Oh, no, you're fine. I was going to say that also plays into, I think, how BJ acted the entire time, since you brought that up, is because he probably felt like he was second choice. He wasn't Bubba's first choice. So that's probably why he acted the way he did the whole time.
I don't think Bubba was his first choice either. I'm not sure, but I mean, I think we're going to have to do a whole 10 minutes on BJ Ray alone towards the end, because he's such.
We will revisit him.
I know what my biggest question about Bubba though is, and I've already said Bubba Zena. What the hell?
Oh yeah, I didn't touch on that. So I mean, there is partially, you know, you've got like a leader member exchange where when you have a close relationship, you tend to have a bond. And so it could be that where they've just already formed that bond. And so you see that more. I think another example of that is Undertaker and Shiloh. There's a close bond there. Now we may not look at it the same way because it's a male and a female versus a male and a male. So maybe we just look at that and go, well, what's going on there? But maybe we shouldn't be so quick to jump to that conclusion. Not saying it's romantic, but saying that he's treating her different because she's a girl. However, then again, it could be because of that. That could be something. Maybe he is just softer on girls or tends to prefer like working with women. And there's a number of different reasons that could exist because of that behavior. My first thought really was, however, the leader member exchange, and that's that bond that you form. And I just think that was a strong bond that was there.
Since we're talking about Zena, I'm going to go ahead, and I mean, is it possible that this bond kind of destroyed whatever confidence she had? Because I feel she's a really good athlete, but at the end of the season, I was questioning if she, she's a good athlete, but is she for wrestling? Because she studies the game, but she doesn't seem to have a genuine interest in it at the end. It's like maybe it was too much too soon. And Bubba's always telling her she's perfect, but when he's watching her with other coaches, he keeps saying like, I told her not to do that. I don't know why she's still doing that. But the problem is that if you don't tell her, she'll never fix it. So her flaws are never fixed. And because he tells her she's perfect, and obviously other coaches are telling her she's not, then I feel she wasn't really there at the end, to the point where it's like I was questioning, is it really for her? Because maybe she felt she was there, and there's like a wake-up call that's like, you're not there. He's not seeing clearly what's going on, or he doesn't want to tell you, or because he's saying things like different things when he's watching your matches with other coaches. So I just wondering if there's any input you could add to that.
Absolutely. So there's a couple things there. So one, with that transactional leadership, sometimes those types of leaders aren't great at giving like constructional feedback that really helps. A transformational leader, however, those are the leaders that do give that feedback that needs to be there to develop. And so that's where she might really thrive with somebody who's a transformational leader. I think what may have happened is she got to the point where she may have started to self-sabotage, where she was like, you know what, I'm going to control my own narrative, and instead of being told that I'm no good, I'm just going to make sure that this goes the way that I think it's going to go. And people do that subconsciously. This isn't something that people consciously do. It's like a subconscious self-sabotage. So people don't often realize that they're doing that, but it's about control is what it comes down to.
I think that we actually mentioned that a few times in context with a few people. And my thinking with Bubba and Zena, I mean, one was the too much too soon. I mean, that's something I think we even said episode 1 of this season, that it seems like too much too soon. Is this going to go to her head? Is this going to affect things? And by the time Bubba realized that the bubble had burst, or decide it was time to confront her. I mean, we can only go by the chronology of the TV shows and not real life. It might have been too late. But the other thing, like, if you're a good leader, you have to know either one of two things. One, your style is so damn good that everyone's going to listen to what you do, like Bill Belichick. It doesn't matter if you like it or not. I'm so successful, you do what I do. Or you adapt to your different players, and so you find you coach yourself to meld to your players. And like there's two kinds. So let's just go to like in real life, regular life anyway. Whatever. My kids in Little League. There are some parents that want to protect their kids, and everything they do is great. Participation trophies, awesome. And then you've got James Harrison, who was drafted by the Ravens. They foolishly let him go, and he ruled the Steelers linebacking core for like 14 years. And oftentimes, much to the Ravens, bad luck. Not that they didn't have their own good linebackers, but James Harrison's like, throw those participation trophies away. My kids aren't going to win anything they don't earn. So I feel like Bubba was more like the overprotective parent than the coach with Zena, but he wasn't necessarily like that with everybody. And so there was something there. I just don't, and I am not trying to insinuate that it was romantic without saying it. I really am not going there. But
she may have reminded him of somebody, so he felt he needed to protect her. There may have been something like that. And maybe he, so it's very much, and what you said there about your kids kind of made me think of, he almost treated her like a daughter in that he wanted to protect her. And, oh, you're great. But then just like a parent does sometimes, sits and complains to other people. I told her not to do that. Why is she doing that? but then doesn't want to hurt her feelings and tell her don't do that. So it's almost sometimes like a parent would. And so I almost wonder if does she remind him of somebody? I don't know, that there's that protection need there. But, sometimes leaders, if you don't, I mean, it really is kind of like a leader fit with the team or with the individuals. Is that fit there, that there, and then is the awareness there that are you doing the right things with the people that you have? You think about like just even on your job. Do you fit well with your manager? Or if you're a leader, do you fit well with your employees? Are you finding that like there's a lot of butting heads going on? That could be because there's not a good organizational fit. And the same goes with sports. We see, like you brought up, you see athletes all the time that don't do well with one team, and then they'll go to another team and they do great. And, at Baker Mayfield, minus the game he just had, but he's the first one that comes to my mind. Obviously, I live in Tampa, so that's why I think of
Jameis Winston.
Yeah. So, right. Yeah. So we think of like sometimes somebody does really well under a certain leader, but not another one.
And in wrestling, Tony Storm in WWE versus Tony Storm in AEW, it's a whole different thing.
Actually,
Absolutely.
in this team, if we take Ace Jameson, she's one that was like brand new, didn't know much, but under Bubba, she got like so good in a short period of time.
Yep.
And she was funny, entertaining. Her wrestling was not on point, but her character, she would do everything Bubba told her to do, even dye her hair. And she was able to cover her flaws with the character and her big mouth and everything. And I really feel actually that every match she was getting better and better under Bubba's. And even at the end, I'm like, and we questioned it. He picked Zena to go to the finals, but we were like, Ace Jameson carried that match. She was so good as a heel. She was so good as a character. If she wasn't there, Zena wouldn't look as good. And Zena had a bunch of matches where it was not good. But then with Ace, it was. So it was like, Bubba, you picked the wrong woman. And, with Ace, it fit perfectly with Bubba. We saw a great, like, from almost nothing to, like, something like a star I would see on shows, like maybe not TV yet, but a big indie show or something. She was getting there.
Yeah, absolutely. So Zena might have done really well with, I think, Michelle or Undertaker. I think one of those two she would have done really well with the style of leadership that they had.
That's what I was going to ask you. Where does she go from here? I mean, she clearly wants to be in wrestling, but I mean, she needs a different coach, which, I mean, listen, Bubba isn't in the performance center normally, so she will have other coaches. They haven't released her. Strangely, they released Hayes, or maybe it's not so strange. I guess we can get to her in a bit, but I guess the agreement is that Zena needs different stewardship to try to help her progress, because Bubba seemed unable to do it for whatever reasons. Now with Hayes, I don't think I've ever seen such natural. I mean, the fact that she'd only been there 5 weeks, 5 months, whatever it was. I've seen wrestlers wrestle for 20 years who don't have that level of spontaneity with the ref, with the crowd, with the performers, with every part of the room was part of her canvas. I mean, it's like when you watch Top Chef and you realize how much goes into making a great dish. It's like everything was an ingredient for her. And some of it, I think, just came out of her head that she didn't plan. I mean, that's like Bobby Heenan, Roddy Piper kind of talent. I don't even care she was that good a wrestler. She wasn't that bad. And for the life of me, I understand why she didn't win. Sort of. Mm-hmm. I absolutely do not understand. Yeah, I understand why she didn't win, but I don't understand why she was later released. And I know that you don't have the inside scoop on that, or I don't think you do. We don't. But do you have any speculation? Was there anything that you saw that we didn't see that would give you a reason why they would give up on someone who, LuFisto, a veteran of almost 3 decades in the sport, and me, a veteran of watching the darn thing? Sorry.
I mean, there's a possibility that, I mean, we don't get to see, I wish they would show more of the coaching, actually. They don't show as much of that, so we don't get to see what goes on with that. She might not be coachable. You know, and that was something that I'm going to touch on too with why they chose who they did, is there might be people who have great work ethic, take coaching well, are willing to, you know, listen to ideas, aren't stuck on certain things. I'm just speculating at this point. I don't know, but these are just ideas that I have. Might not be, I don't know. Trying to think.
I was thinking maybe it was her decision for some reason, so we don't know.
Yeah, that's a possibility as well. Yeah.
That was one. And
I mean, maybe they can't figure out where she would fit either. You know, are they looking long term? Where would this person fit in our plans? And maybe that's just not there with what they have decided, what they have planned. I don't know, but those would be my speculations as far as what's going on. But yeah, I don't have a definite answer for you on that one.
That was another thing I thought about, because she had kind of that drunk gimmick, and I was like, do they want to use such a character on TV, or can they? And maybe the answer is no, and they don't see anything else for her. So maybe she would be great on the indie scene where you could do any kind of characters, but maybe it's not fitting for TV.
Yeah, and maybe they wanted to go ahead and highlight that for her. So, you know, a lot of these wrestlers, I was thinking at first, if they did have it all planned out ahead of time, like what's their incentive to really give it their all? And then I thought, well, of course it would be to kind of prove themselves for someplace else that they might be able to go and be seen. So, you know, my initial reaction is always like, what's the motivation? So that's got to be, you know, the motivation, I would think, to do that. But yeah, I would have to agree with you that I don't think that that's a good gimmick for WWE, unfortunately.
Oh yeah, but when you have that kind of talent and spontaneity, it's up to creative to come up with a different character, a different reason for it. But I mean, we talked about this on the show, and it took me about all of 4 seconds to come up with an alternate reason. I mean, they're sponsored by at least 2 different energy drinks, Prime and C4, depending on when it is. So how about it's just she's hopped up on energy drinks that are their sponsors? I mean,
switch the beer for Prime.
Well, and you think about it, I mean, they also have the Wheatley vodka from Cody Rhodes, like with all that stuff, you know. So
they never made any money off of Stone Cold Steve Austin drinking beer, and then Furley beer. They had more investment in Hulk Hogan's Real American beer. So
she could be the female Steve Austin. Come on, there's money.
and
I see her with 2 beers.
I mean, right now I'm seeing about 3 or 4 things that we've dropped that you should get sponsorships.
Agree 100%. Yes, absolutely. You are a genius, clearly. I can't even think of who else was on his. I mean, BJ deserves its own segment, and I mean, Elijah Holyfield. I think him and Bubba. I mean, if anything, he had a similar relationship with Elijah that he seemed to have with Zena, but Elijah got hurt so early on, and the decision not to replace him like they did last year with Cutler James for BJ struck me as being odd. It struck LuFisto as being odd, but I don't know what to say about, you know, his relationship with Elijah Holyfield, except that it seemed like he was doing great, and the kid has all sorts of talent, but he got hurt, and I have nothing to add to that. That doesn't mean that there aren't things to add to it, though.
No, I just feel like he's such a natural athlete. Like he was so serious and everything. He did listen. He was humble and everything. Even if he's like Evander Holyfield's son, like you wouldn't know because he wouldn't mention it. And he was just listening, and he was like a sponge, like getting like all the information he could get. And he was focused. And even with this injury, you could see that he sees obstacles as challenges. They motivate him. Mm-hmm. So for a coach, it's really like when you have someone like this, like you feel fulfilled. You feel like you want to help this person. You want to push this person because humble, focused, wants to succeed, like is not afraid of setbacks, like fall 7 times, get up 8. That's the kind of person I think Elijah Holyfield is. So I think for Bubba, it was just like go with the flow because this guy has it figured out. And, he's one of them that I can go ahead and say that he'll probably succeed eventually because he's that like focused on and not into drinking, not into partying, really like a good human being that has like priorities. And he's just like, he's all in.
Yeah, I think we'll see him again. I think he's like a dream worker,
Yeah.
Yeah, with their dream family pedigree as well. I mean, all of the tie-ins across. I mean, everything about him. Listen, I do not know Jacob Fatu. I don't want anyone to think I do, but I know people who know Jacob Fatu. I co-host a show with somebody who knows Jacob Fatu. Actually, and sometimes I co-host a show with a different co-host, but it's the same show that knows Jacob Fatu. And everyone says the same thing. I think even Joey, when Joey Noma's from Wrestling Soup, which is where we're on, has reffed indie matches with Jacob Fatu on. I'm not 100%, but I think so. And I think he's said the same thing, that he's quiet, polite, respectful, and like a sponge, but, like Elijah is. But of course, Elijah's like a sponge. The sponge was carved out of granite. But it's like that. And Jacob Fatu can do it all. I mean, he looks like he's going to kill you, but people love him. Face, heel, doesn't matter. I mean, and he looks like menace, and Elijah does too. But if he lets his personality be out there, then you're going to know he's a sweetheart. I mean, he really is a total package. Other than he's a little bit short, which matters less in 2025 than it did in 1995 or 1985, which is sort of where I'm stuck in. But I'm not anymore because I'm so rooting for him because I've been following him now for 2 seasons, so I'm invested. But we, when he was hurt, Lou and I actually said what we want to hear out of his promo, because we didn't hear similar things out of some others. And we got exactly what we wanted to hear from him, which is something about mental maturity, which despite them probably all being within 6 or 7 years of each other, there were very different levels of mental maturity. And that's something we discussed also. And I'm sure you'll have an opportunity to talk about that in some contrast. But we can take a quick vote if we want to talk about Bubba and BJ and all things BJ. I'll leave BJ as his own segment because I'm sort of the mind that BJ deserves his entire own segment. But I don't know if it's fresh on everyone's mind with Bubba and BJ. I'm happy to be outvoted here.
Let's come back to BJ.
Okay, beautiful.
So let's go to Booker T. Let's switch team. So to me, Booker T was like very dramatic. He had questionable tactics where I was like, what the fuck? But however, he will take time to fix problem. He teaches by getting in there with his students, actually showing them, taking their hands, placing the hands, like move like this. He takes the time. He seems to be really patient. And of course, like he's been teaching for a long time, still has his wrestling school where he has all his trophies and what did he say? Checks and belts or checks and championships. Checks and championships. So obviously he loves teaching because otherwise I don't think he would be still doing it by at the same time having a big contract with WWE where he's a commentator, has probably a legend deal or whatever deal he has. Like he's making a lot of money and he has his own podcast, but he's still teaching, still has a school. Roxanne Perez comes from his school. Like she's a very, very good athlete at a very young age too, right from not Bubba, but Booker T's school. So that's pretty much my take on Booker. But very dramatic, and he's got some good, got some bad.
I'll get up with my 2 cents, then we'll go.
Yes, please go ahead.
I love Booker. I know he's got his wrestling school. I know he's had success with his wrestling school. I know they trust him enough that they let WWE contract talent on all levels work his reality of wrestling shows with his students. I think he's a good teacher. I'm not sure he's a great teacher for everybody. I don't really think he changes his approach. but he does confront people head on. He reminds me very much of like Mike Tomlin and that he's, he'll be in your face. Also John Harbaugh here. And then, and a lot of coaches. I can't remember the guy who was the Steelers coach before Tomlin with the chin. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But he definitely is in people's face and is there. But I'm not always sure that his advice wasn't counterproductive. And specifically with regards to two people, and it was the men, and two very different men who, at least one of them seemed to think they were in the same category. But Harlem Lewis, who I think is exactly who Harlem thinks he is. I think Harlem knows who he is. I'm not sure if Booker was if he was exactly the right person or exactly the wrong person, I'm not sure. And Chris Island, who I don't think Booker was right for it all, but I'm not sure if that's a Booker problem, if it was a Chris problem. We can get to the women afterwards. Frankly, I don't remember the women that were on his team at this moment.
Yeah. Okay. So Booker. I also really enjoy Booker T, but I was extremely upset with him, or at least his character. I wasn't sure if it was what he was playing or if some of this was actually happening, but right off the bat, I'm going to refer to my notes on this because I had very specific notes on him. Right off the bat, episode 1, he was mad.
It's a conspiracy.
Visibly frustrated, defensive, critical of Undertaker and Michelle McCool, calling it unfair. And from that moment forward, you saw a shift in everything that came out of his mouth, in his body language, to the point where when they showed all of the coaches, he was sitting off by himself. Did you notice that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He was off by himself, and the other 3, or at least it was 2, and then the third.
Move this.
But
are you saying he worked himself into a shoot?
Removed.
He worked himself into a shoot, sucker.
And he was so jealous, it seemed, of Michelle McCool coming in and taking his talent that he had worked with the year before. I mean, it was one thing on top of another. And it was almost like his defenses went up, and he said, you know what, if you're going to do that, then this is how it's going to be. And then he just fought dirty the whole season. And you could see it with, when he was telling Harlem, be stiff. That one was very upsetting to me personally. And I think to a lot of people, at least I saw a lot of things online where people were upset with that episode. And I think it was the timing too of that episode and what happened with Raja Sykes. Mm-hmm. And, that was a week apart. Yeah. And I know that LFG is taped, and you can't help what happens in the same timeline of reality, but it's just unfortunate that happened so close together, because you've got young talent here who you're telling to do stuff like that too, or as Undertaker said, take liberties. Well, you got people
I have to do a cheap plug right now because you mentioned Raja. On Gospel of Thomas, we had Doug Malo, the Epic. He is the wrestler who actually got in the ring and pulled Raja off of Sue Stykes, and we spoke to him just on the Monday after Raja Jackson got arrested. So go check out that show to hear from Doug Malo, possible state's witness.
Oh, okay.
I feel like that timing is as good as when Nick Gage was slicing Chris Jericho, and there was like a pizza, a Domino's pizza advertisement, and on the so that was perfect timing. It was like, but so terrible. I feel it was the same. It's like, oh, not planned, but it's there. Oh.
Yeah. Like, oh, this is just bad timing. And ouch. But things like that made me look at it and go, that's just, you don't do that with young talent that don't necessarily know how to interpret that. And then they're also, like you said, mentioned, his style of leadership was very aggressive. I mean, he's still a transactional leader, but more aggressive. So, and there's a lot of low psychological safety there. They were probably, less likely to take creative risks on their own or speak up. They were more focused on what is it that he wants me to do, and I'm going to do that. And then that's where performance starts to slip, or, in that match against Shiloh, he he took it too far. And you could see that on Undertaker's face. That wasn't a work. That was his actual face going, what is going on right now?
Upset. Like, I never thought I would see the Undertaker upset, but here we are.
He was upset. And, that was a point where it was like, that was too far. And I think that, Harlem just was trying to do what he told him to do, and it did go too far. But that's where mistakes are made, is when you're more worried about pleasing your mentor than you are what you're supposed to be doing. And so I think we saw that with a lot of his team members.
I think Harlem knows he's a loaded gun. But if you're a loaded gun, you're a loaded gun, and your coach tells you to shoot, you shoot.
Right. You got the permission.
Yeah.
Like, he basically gave him the permission. I mean, that
he gave him the order.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm glad you agree on that. I mean, and the Booker Harlem dynamic is interesting, but I mean, the Harlem dynamic, I think, is also interesting. I can't put it into words, but hopefully we have someone here who can.
Well, the way I see him is like, he's a guy that needs anger management, but at least he knows it. He listens. He's open to talk to fix problems. We saw that with Booker. Like, he was really upset, but had the balls to go. It's like, hey, this, they talked aside, but he's so passionate, like, serious. His will to succeed is so strong that that's where I believe he's going to do whatever it takes to succeed. Therefore, listen to Booker, to whatever he says. Because, like, when he was in his room, he's like, if you don't want this, the championships and the posters and this, then you don't really want it. But then he sees Booker succeeded and he wants to, so he's going to do whatever Booker says. Like, he's so focused and he's willing to improve himself, and he's really believable. Like, I remember Michelle saying, I am scared when he comes out. And that's, he's real. But that's the kind of downside of it. Like, he's going to do anything to succeed. Therefore, listen to the bad advice of Booker, who tells him to take liberties and beat the shit out of the Shallow Hill. And that's where he's at. Like, he knows he's like this, but he kind of controls it, but gets kind of blinded by the fact that he wants to succeed so much and go to, like, achieve his goal and be the best, that he's gonna make the decision to do things that you should not do as a wrestler. Even if the coach tells you to do it, it's wrong. Look at Taker's face. It was wrong.
Yeah. I wholeheartedly agree. And he is very scary looking. And something that when Charlotte Flair was on in episode 4, she said, be authentic to who you are. That's the only way the audience will believe who you are. And that's something I think that's, very true for some of the best wrestlers. And I'm sure you can attest to that if you take your authentic self and dial it one way or the other to be the character that you need to be in the ring, that's when the audience is really going to basically buy what you're selling.
Steve Austin.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Mm-hmm. And so I really think that Harlem is being his authentic self. I'm just a little worried about what that authentic self is sometimes. But
speaking of being authentic, I think it's the opposite when it comes to Chris Island. Let's not
leave Harlem just yet. I just want to ask, I understand that you're not really in a position to diagnose him, but there's got to be a word for a condition where somebody is dangerous to himself, but they're so self-aware that they know it, that it's barely contained, but it is mostly contained. Like, is there like a diagnosis for that, or is that a term for that?
Well, I wouldn't say a diagnosis, but you touched on it with the self-aware. So if he's self-aware of any anger issues he might have, or any violent tendencies he might have, and he's doing things proactively to not act on those things, then I think that's just self-awareness. And
Well, I believe him. I mean,
another
obviously
word I'm trying to think of, it's on the tip of my tongue, but I mean, basically you're just being self-aware, and you're monitoring that and making sure that you don't do those things. There's a number of different possibilities of what his personality might be, but I wouldn't want to even go near diagnosing that without knowing him personally.
Well, that's the difference between a real psychologist and dime store psychologist. Right? Well, me. Okay, fair enough. Let's move on to this. Lou's right. I mean, Chris Island is extremely interesting in his own right.
Yeah, because he's like, he wants to be that tough guy. He's like, hey, if you get, if you push my buttons, you're going to see the danger, which I never saw, because I feel he was always on the verge of crying. When you look at his face, he makes up that rough persona, but he can't bring it out when he's in the ring or when he's talking or whatever. I don't believe what he's saying. Like, I don't feel it's real. And like, he's got a lot of potential, but I feel he needs to find himself and maybe even fix himself, because I'm not sure he knows who he is.
Yeah. And you hit on nail on the head with that one. Nail on the head. Absolutely. Because I don't think he's basically figured out his gimmick, and he knows what he wants it to be, but he's not, again, it's not authentic. So like, I could want to be a 6-foot supermodel. I'm 5'1". I can't convince an audience that I'm a 6-foot supermodel. You know what I mean? So you can't convince people of something that you were just not going to be able to portray. And so I think, if he found something that he could be more confident in, that he'd be a lot better.
I'm going to go a step further. Again, dime store. I think I took enough psychology courses in college that it would have counted as a minor, but that was from 1986 to 1990. So
okay.
I'm sure the field has changed more than a little bit since then. But you said that you weren't sure he understood what his character is. I'm not sure he understands who he is. So I don't think he can be a character, because he really seemed lost. I keep thinking about Peter Pan, but I just felt like he was a lost boy. Like and he needed someone to shape him, and they put him in the karate outfit and then the MMA thing, but it all felt like they were Halloween costumes and none of them fit right. Like nothing felt right on him, including his testimonials, his candids in the car. He's like, they don't want to wake up the monster in me. Oh boy, they're going to see it coming. And then the next time we saw him, nothing. And he's like, they don't want to wake the monster in me. Ooh, they're going to see it and nothing. I didn't want to see them fight, but if you're going to talk this way, I mean, at least Harlem and Shiloh got into it. I think Shiloh and Anthony Luke got into it. I mean, people did get into it a little bit. I mean, he was never there. I mean, I'm not trying to encourage the violence, but if you're telling us you've got this dangerous side to you, don't be all Dr. Jekyll on me and never show me Hyde, because I never saw Hyde.
Yeah, no, you bring up a great point there. If he doesn't know who he is personally, he's stuck in that identity versus role confusion. So if you've got that psychology degree, you probably remember Erik Erikson's theories of human development, that identity role conflict is more in adolescence, and he might be stuck in that, where he never really figured out who he is yet. And some people can be stuck in that well in their 20s, even sometimes into their 30s. And I would argue a lot of people are stuck in that until they're about 30, really. But so if he hasn't figured that out, he might be having a lot of he might be trying on a lot of different roles to figure out what feels right first. And then he might also be really kind of going off of what other people are telling him versus what he thinks himself, what he feels himself is authentic. If other people are saying, I think that you should do this, I think you should do this, I think that you'd be really good at that, or just getting that external validation might make him feel good. So he's following what other people are saying.
Do you think it's something that happens a lot to athletes in general? Because he's from the amateur background. And when you're an athlete all your life and you start as a kid and then you grow up as a wrestler and your life is training, wrestling, dieting, gym, training, wrestling, dieting, gym, a little bit of school, but it's always that it shapes your personality and you're the wrestler. Mm-hmm. So when that time is over and you step into another world, the wrestler's not there anymore. So who are you?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that happens with a lot of athletes in general is, and I actually see this a lot with my master's students. Some of them have been in sports all their life and then they don't make it into the pros. So they're a graduate student now and they are really, struggling with, I don't know who I am at this point. I thought my life was going to take me here and it's not. And so that is something that a lot of athletes or some that might get injured along the way and it takes their life a completely different route. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think that he's mentally tough enough to be in professional wrestling, at least at this level?
Again, I don't know him personally, so I don't know that I could say that for sure. I think he might need to do a little work on himself, but I think with some coaching, he could be.
Okay, fair enough. Honest to God, I don't remember who were the women on Booker's team. It escapes me right now.
I'll give you a name, and I'll go ahead with her.
Serena, one
Duma,
of them, right?
Yep,
oh
Serena
my God! Of course,
Tiana, Duma. One word that comes to mind for me is delusional. Oh my God! Like I felt she thought she was so much better than she actually is. She talked about herself being the veteran, and I'm the one who leads the match. But then again, we would see her forgetting stuff, getting lost, and she had a bad attitude overall. She would blame everybody else but herself when there was something wrong happening.
Oh, yes.
And even I was like, you know what? Wrestling is not for her. She comes from a basketball background, so I don't understand how she can't work as a teammate, because wrestling, you have to work as a team. You can't do a match by yourself. But apparently in wrestling, like she has the look, she has the, the face, but oh my God, everything else, it's like, and it's always, someone else's fault. Like when she was wrestling Serena for the final, she was like, oh, are you going to remember everything? Blah, blah, blah. But she's the one that forgot everything. You could clearly see it. So I was like, oh my God, the delusion here. I was like,
well,
so
I
don't
think
know.
that's just projecting. Yeah. I think she was projecting a lot. I think she was also, it was a lot of defensive confidence. Mm-hmm. So, I tell myself this, the more I say this, the more I'll believe it kind of a thing. Fake it till you make it kind of a situation.
Yeah, there's a drag queen that once, like, it ended up being a meme, but she went like, I feel attacked. And that's all I think when I see her. I feel attacked. And then she's like really defensive. And it's always like, I don't know. Like, she was quite a character.
Yeah. Her tone and her body language always suggested somebody who was trying to stay in control rather than feeling in control. And so that's why I say that, like, she seemed very much like she was very defensive and trying to act like she was confident, but underneath, I think it was a lot of self-protection. She was very quick to assert herself or assert her worth, defend her perspective even. And it makes sense if she was probably used to having to prove herself. That might be something that she dealt with throughout life. So that's quite possible. She, you know, I a lot of things that I talk about is what kind of environments have people had to deal with throughout their life and how that influences or affects their behaviors. And that's probably something that maybe she's had to deal with all her life. And so that might be some of that defensiveness and
It's like a defense
like
mechanism.
yeah.
How do you go in a wrestling ring and forget to tie your bootlaces up? I mean, is that how is that not self-sabotage?
That's
You can ask Tiffany Stratton. Her boot was not tied up right at the last pay-per-view.
Fair enough.
I mean, everybody makes mistakes, but when it's a lot, that's when I feel like you're kind of over.
Well, as far as Serena,
you're selling yourself just so that you believe it. And
I have nothing to add on top.
Like George Costanza said, it's not a lie if you believe it.
Right. I mean, I think between the two of you who hit everything on Tatiana, I have zero to add. Serena, I mean, from season 1 to season 2, or really from the beginning of season 1 to the end of season 1, she improved greatly. From the beginning of season 2, the end of season 2, I think she plateaued. She's fine. She seems like a really sweet person. I think she'd be good in any locker room. I think she'd be good anywhere, but she doesn't feel like a star to me. But that's nothing about her psychology. I'm just not sure that you know, she's got it. There were plenty of other people who disagree with me, which is entirely fine. But you know, I don't find anything particularly interesting to discuss about her. I think her interactions with Booker were fine. I found her to be completely unremarkable, and that's not a bad thing. It's neutral. I expect, you know, someone who's been on 2 seasons of LFG to be much better by the end than they were at the beginning. She was, although I think she got much better sort of by episode 12, or at least by episode 2 of season 2, and sort of stayed the same. But I'm repeating myself.
I feel she was a lot more comfortable as a heel. Like, to me, she was like one step, when she was a heel. To me, she was more complete. She felt more at home in the ring. Everything flowed better. I mean, you should be able to work both ways, like babyface or heel. But for her, I just felt that's where she shined. And like you said, Dr. Gina, she seems to be coachable. She has a good attitude. So they might want to spend more time working with her because, you know, these reasons.
Yeah, I was looking. I'm just trying to look and find. I thought I saw today that she is with somebody else now, but I couldn't find it. So I don't want to say that and then it was somebody else actually, but I'm almost positive it was her.
What do you mean by with somebody else?
I thought it was NWA.
Oh,
I don't think so. I think she's still in the PC. She might be Reality of Wrestling. She might be working at Booker's promotion.
They did send Natalia to NWA though, and it would be a great place for her to just get some reps in. If I'm hoping they did send her, because I think that's what she needs. She needs ring time to get more comfortable knowing her environment. And yeah, it's that way they'll be able to see if there's something to do with her, if she can, you know, work hard and thrive under pressure at live shows. And NWA is it's an option that they have.
Sure. I want good things for NWA. I want there to be these other options where people can make livings just working for one company if they want to, or they have, you know, their bills are paid and then they work the indies to get there, or they have their, as I've learned, it's called a shoe job. Here's the thing about Serena in a nutshell for me. Her tagline is basically spicy, but I don't find anything about her spicy at all. I mean, you know, salt and pepper are spices too. I mean, so is nutmeg, but you know, there's a whole lot of peppers out there, and so there's green pepper, and then there's the peppers that make you cry. I think she's a green pepper. I don't find her to be spicy in the least.
Oh, No.
Yeah,
No.
I don't.
Not even a chili?
No, not even.
I'm not saying
chilies,
she's a
not even
ghost or a habanero. She
But you're
not
saying she's
even
like a
the
banana pepper?
chilies.
a banana pepper. These are good.
No, not even a banana pepper. I mean, maybe like like a red pepper you have in a salad, not the red pepper flakes. No, nothing's. The green pepper I think might be a little bit too strong. I mean, maybe more cucumber. I'm just.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I can't argue. I don't really have a lot for Serena, so
There you have.
there you have it.
There's nothing spicy. If there's nothing to psychoanalyze a professional, aspiring professional wrestler about, I mean, come on. I mean, everyone's got to be a little bit nuts to be in this business, to be in any kind of show business.
Well, why don't we go to the lady, the lady coach of the bunch, Mrs. Michelle McCool. I thought she was very motherly, patient. She was supporting her team. She knew all their mannerism and their brand and their moves. And I could see that she actually cared about them as persons. She would take the time to know who they are. And so much so that, like, when you listen to Anthony Luke or Trill Under, whatever, or even Panina Summer, they all wanted to do good for her.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. I mean,
Jeff, did you want to add anything before?
Yeah, I mean, for Michelle, I mean, honestly, she's what an illustration of don't judge a book by its cover. Also, don't let your preconceived notions affect what you're watching. Because I was upset about Mickie James not being on the show. I've always liked Mickie, and Michelle doesn't sound like much. Like, she's very deadpan, but don't be fooled that she's not smart and insightful and caring. Everything LuFisto said, like, over the course of the season, I grew to appreciate her so much. She was such a good coach. She had such a bond. And while the rest of the stuff with teams felt like, these aren't really teams. This is a joke. I feel like her players felt like they were her players for the coach. And I think she felt like she had an investment in the team and all of them. Well, I think the others, they sort of had their favorites, and then the others could come and go, which makes sense. Wrestling is not really a team sport. I mean, you have to work together, but it's not really a team sport. I mean, everyone's like, take care of yourself, the old Hogan and Cena, Jericho thing, but everyone now loves Hogan and Cena, and they'll love Jericho one day. Everyone loves Jarrett now, but at the time, so it's that kind of conundrum. But I thought she was terrific. I mean, what a surprise. And this also applied to one of her students, Trill, who I had no interest in liking. He's a small little guy, and that's what I don't like. I mean, he's not short, but I don't want to like the little wrestlers. And Michelle and Trill both enchanted me. I thought they were so delightful together, and I don't know, won me over. So I don't know what that's saying. Don't worry, Undertaker. I don't have a crush on her or anything. She dresses She dresses a little bit too much like she wants to be in a rap video for my tastes, but as a coach and a person, really won me over. And as a couple, the two of them, they're actually really cute together.
Yeah.
Once you get their dynamic.
I thought it was very interesting that you didn't see a lot of their dynamic on the show. Like, you do, but they weren't over the top with it, with as much as, like, Booker T thought that it was going to be unfair with them as a couple, which I don't understand, because they have their own teams. So they're really competing against each other. But I do somewhat understand where he's
about people. I mean, Booker's been married a long time. Doesn't he know about competition in the house?
Well, and when you think about it, what was really funny is it was the two of them that won. Because it was Michelle won the belt and Undertaker's wrestlers won. So yeah, I guess he was right in the long run. But yeah, with Michelle, she's a transformational leader. So she really develops her people. She's, calm, articulate, empathetic. She treated each wrestler as a developing performer rather than just a competitor. Really, balance that nurturing. You really hit on that. Perfect. Balance that nurturing feedback, but also with accountability. She also maintain respect and composure, even in the high stress evaluations. she was a very strong leader, I thought. You know, she combined some of that vision with individualized support. She was motivation, you know, through belief and not fear. Like I would say like a Booker T kind of gave a little bit more fear. There was a lot of, I would say, high psychological safety with her. So her wrestlers were probably a little bit more open to feedback and reflection, probably a little bit more, felt a little bit more safe to give their ideas to her and see what she thought about that, and probably bounce those ideas back and forth. And I think that, you know, she was probably focused more on the long-term potential with them rather than the very short-term outcomes. And so that type of leadership style will usually do that. And I thought that her team felt very cohesive and adaptive. So even though not all of them made it far, they visibly improved. I thought all of them really visibly improved. So that's my analysis. I had a lot of notes on her.
You were talking about Thrill, and I thought was interesting with him is that the way he was wrestling, like you could see that he had been a fan for years. Like he loved wrestling and it showed, and everything looked so easy for him. Like he's such a natural at high flying wrestling, but he was able to, like sometimes high flying is just all over the place. It doesn't make sense. But for him, it did make sense. And he used the fact that he was small and fast to its advantage instead of looking like a circus clown. He had a great attitude, great fire. I felt he was even more like a more charismatic Javon Evans. I think that's where he's going.
Yeah.
Like, but he has a little something more where you fall in love with him. You want him to succeed. Like maybe it's that thing that I'm talking about where someone loves wrestling so much and it's like it's transpiring to right to the crowd and you feel the love and you can give it back. I feel that that's what it's doing, and it's something special. So, I mean, like, unless he gets hurt or whatever, like I see like him being successful. Babyface, being a good babyface is hard because you need to get sympathy from the people while you need to rally them up behind you, and he already has that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Pretty much Trill is that I believe he has the mental maturity. I believe he knows exactly who he is, and he's got the confidence himself. So he didn't need to prove to anybody that he was hard. He just let you know he could be hard, but he could also smile at the same time. And he said it, and he acted, and he showed it. He's very comfortable with himself, and he has the NFL, bona fides for there. I mean, I can't say enough about the guy. I mean, I don't know if he's a more likable Javon Evans, but I think he's a more mature. Like Javon Evans, I feel like I'm watching a kid wrestle, which I think is part of the appeal of Javon Evans. But Trill, I feel like I'm seeing a grown-up wrestle the way Javon Evans does. I mean, my God, him, Leon Slater, and Javon Evans together as a trio. I mean, or with Fraxium. I mean, it's ridiculous. I don't really typically like that style of wrestling, but when it's done well and he wrestles right, it's like he gets thrown around, he gets beat up, but when he either starts fast or when he makes the babyface comeback, he wrestles the right way, and kudos to him. As far as the Summer Sorrell, I think that she improved from beginning to the end, but early on we said she's not going to win this competition. I don't think there's anything wrong with her. I just think she was too green and physically and in every other way not up to the level of some of the other people on the team. And of course she picked if you have three of the most consistent people in the competition, she picked two of them, Anthony Luke and Panina. I mean, basically Pinassi and Anthony Luke every time, most every time, delivered solidly, almost to the point that sometimes it felt like Anthony Luke took it for granted a little bit. But she had three out of the four, I'd say, most consistent performers who were all interesting to watch. So maybe that's why she won the championship. I still understand if both of your your students win the contracts, how you don't win it, but nevertheless, we're
Yes.
getting ahead of ourselves, I suppose.
I felt Summer didn't have much personality, and I was really wondering, like, is it something like she wanted to try and see if she could, make that would be a way of living for her after track and field? And I didn't feel, how I was saying, like Trill, I felt the love. I felt like him wanting to, like, I wanted to get on the ride with him, or whatever he was selling, I was buying. With her, it was just like, I don't know why she's here. Like, she's trying, she's putting in the effort, but yeah, I don't feel it was really into her blood. Not that she's not a good athlete. It's just that wrestling is so much more than just moves. And yeah, I don't feel she had the total package, and I'm not sure she was really interested in, pushing to get there.
Yeah, with Trill, he's not really thinking about performing. He's just in it because, like you said, he's got that love for it. He's everything. And so it was all really kind of automatic for him. And so we call that flow state in psychology. So when somebody's that comfortable with their skill set, their brain just actively shifts. And so there's less self-monitoring, and it's more instinct and emotion. So, everything on him just looks so natural at that point. With Summer, yeah, I would agree with you. She's just not there yet. It was probably like well, yeah, that looks interesting. I think I could do that. Let's try that. She probably just needs more work. If she finds herself passionate enough to do that, then probably would just need more work at it. But yeah, I guess I didn't see the same passion there with her. I thought it was more of I would say, transactional thing. I'll do this as a job. Just like I'm going to go to the office and I'm going to answer phones. I'm going to go to this wrestling thing and I'm going to wrestle and get my paycheck. So some people just view things as a job, and you can tell.
What about the two stars on her team?
What's that?
What about the two stars on her team? What do you think about P Nasty and Anthony Luke?
P Nasty is my favorite. That might be because of my Polynesian background, but
we can't see you, so we don't know.
Well, you can't necessarily tell I'm also mixed with my dad's side, but who's just plain old white. But
generic white guy like me.
The mixture of white. So with P Nasty, like she's got that toughness, that confidence about her, and she knows who she is. Like there's no denying that. You could tell that, and you touched on this, like when she left and she was like, I don't need no Cinderella story, whatever. I don't remember the exact words, but
I'm not a princess. I need a happy ending, something like that.
Yeah. And she is very confident in who she is, and I don't think this is going to be the end of what we see of her at all.
I never heard the expression collect your issue before I heard her say it, but I knew exactly what it meant, and I know exactly what it means now, and it sounds so natural coming from her. And if like anyone else said it, well, I don't know about anyone. Like if I said it, it would sound stupid, but it sounds badass coming from her.
Yeah, and to have the entire audience do the hand motion when you're coming out like she does, and to chant things with her, all of those things. And, I see online people are quoting that. They're asking for that on t-shirts already. What are we doing here? I love Danny. No disrespect to Danny, but what are we doing here?
That's what I was saying.
Shocked about that. And all I have to say is there must be a good reason somewhere, somehow. But I don't know what that reasoning is. I couldn't tell you.
No,
I don't even have a guess.
I think us either. Because the thing with Panina is especially when she talks, when she does her promos, it doesn't feel like a promo. It's real. No. It's her talking. It comes from the heart. It's not. It doesn't seem to be scripted. She just goes with whatever, and I believe everything she says. And even when she was saying, like, you know what, I'm nervous, like, but I'm gonna go through this, like, she shows that she's human, but she's so real that she's gonna tell you she's nervous, but she's still gonna beat your ass. And I thought that was great. And I was like, she has such a bright future if guided well, because there was a few little things here and there, like, where I was like feeling she was too focused on the wrestling, not enough the crowd. But these are things that if you wrestle, it comes with time. And if you have somebody that's good, that's telling you every time, like, next match, fix this, next time, fix. And she's really coachable. She listens. And every time somebody would tell her to do something, the next match, she would do it. And I was like, I was like, what?
Yeah, like I noticed one, she rushed, I think, a little bit.
Yeah.
And so that maybe that was it, but I don't know, those combination of a few things that she was technically, maybe she's doing a few things technically one side, and then not character necessarily, but it's not matching up, getting the whole soup basically in the ring. And they want
Doctor,
the whole,
this is the stew brown, not the soup brown.
Oh, I'm sorry. The whole stew in the ring.
A little bit thicker.
That's right.
I was trying to be corny.
Oh, there's probably corn in her stew.
Okay, nothing there is now.
That's the only thing I can think of, is that maybe it's not all the pieces being in the right place, and they feel like Danny's closer, but I mean, not to get on too much on that, but from a developmental standpoint, I feel like she is just leaps and bounds ahead. I really feel like you have to look at the audience buy-in on some of these people, some of these wrestlers, what.
Yeah.
And that she has it. She just has it. So
if anyone's listening to this podcast for the first time, or you're just here to hear Gina, I mean, first of all, thank you and welcome. But if you listen to episode 15, which is the penultimate episode of this season of this podcast, you will hear me and LuFisto probably for a good 10 or 15 minutes just agree with each other on how confused we are. Not because we don't like Danny. We both really, really do. But we just felt that Shawn Michaels said, I need someone who I can plug in right now that's different. And I'm thinking to myself, well, you got, Kendall Gray, who's little but wrestles like she's big. You have Thea Hale, who I haven't seen in a while, but she's sort of the little engine that could. You got a bunch of little blondes. You don't have any, sort of Huss women who look like they can wrestle, that aren't, I mean, Lash is there, but she's sort of glamorous. Panina's not really, you don't have your bruiser. So I don't know. It didn't meet the definition of what I heard Shawn saying is the requisite. Actually, it was 0 for 2 on Shawn's own requisite. His words and his decisions didn't match for us. And it's not a spoiler because we did it last episode, but we'll hear your take on that. But we agree. We agree with Panina, but what are your thoughts? I have nothing to add to Anthony Luke other than what I said before, mercifully. So what are your thoughts on Anthony? We'll go with my co-host first.
Speaking of having it, Anthony Luke, he's a natural. He picks up little details faster than everybody else. He will place himself for the next spot. He will sell to wherever he needs to be. He's always at the right place at the right time. He's got presence. He knows his character. He never forgets to work the crowd or speak to the referee or even his opponent, talking shit to his opponent. I'm like, put him on TV right now. Put him on fucking TV right now. What is wrong with you guys? So it's like, so that's pretty much how I feel with Anthony Luke. I feel he's there, and I'm like, what are you guys waiting? Seriously.
Doc?
So I do feel like he has a very undeniable physical presence. He moves like he's somebody who understands control in his body and his demeanor. but I don't think it always came off, or it kind of came off as emotionally detached with the amount of confidence that he had. And that can kind of read wrong with some audiences, I think. So that in psychology, that kind of affective restraint is common with people who've built success through discipline rather than emotion. And so I think that might be hindering him a little bit in his growth and in his success. So once he can kind of overcome that, I think he'll be spot on.
Excellent. I like when I see Anthony Luke, I think I feel the same way that everybody who thinks that Ricky Saints is a superstar. I feel like they see Ricky Saints the way I see Anthony Luke. Like if Anthony Luke was in Ricky Saints' position, I'd be like, hell yeah. Instead, I just see sort of like, I don't know, sort of an undersized guy with, that's going to be bald pretty soon. Anthony Luke, I see a star. And it's unfair, I'm comparing two people that there's no reason to compare them, but that's just, I feel like, you could put him up opposite Trick Williams right now. You, like I said, put him on TV right now. We talked about loan him to TNA if you don't feel like he's ready, or
I think that would be good. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, but I agree with what you're saying. I mean, we said that sometimes it felt like he was coasting or resting on his laurels, or really thought he had it in the bag. And sometimes you're right, like you said, emotionally detached, and maybe that did translate to the judges and the audience, and who knows what metrics that they use on it. I just found it was really strange that the end where he gave his farewell saying, I thought that you were looking for the best wrestler and you just let him go. And they're like, wow, where was that guy? I'm like, I've heard him talk like that before. I mean, not always. His promos don't always hit, but neither does anybody else's. But anyway, it's I think if there's any reason that he didn't advance all the way, that's probably it, is that he might have seemed a little entitled.
Yeah. And sometimes we see our best selves on the way out. So when there's no pressure.
I love all this because it's such a perfect segue to the last coach, Undertaker.
Yes.
Because he's just the perfect mix of old school meet new school when it comes to teaching. He's the voice of reason. And, to go back to just what you said, he says it's all about storytelling. He wants people to feel something when they look at the wrestling match. It's not about the moves. It's about how you feel watching it. So, when you talk about emotions, that's exactly it. That's how Undertaker sees wrestling. Mm-hmm. The only thing I would say that, bothered me with Taker is that he was blinded by the ones he really liked, Shiloh. Mm-hmm. So he wouldn't see I felt he didn't see the progress of, let's say, Drake Moreau. Because Drake, I remember I watched the first match of the season. I was like, eh. And then he got better, good, so freaking good. Oh my God, this guy is a great baby face, and he's athletic for his size and this and this. But I felt Undertaker was not seeing it, because already he had in his head that Shiloh was going back to the finals. So I was like, oh man, but overall, yeah, I love his way of it's all about the feelings and storytelling. Moves don't really matter. You place them where they work according to the story. And I feel that's how wrestling should work. And that's how Undertaker is teaching. So yeah, that's pretty much my take on Taker.
I'm not sure if this is a good thing or a bad thing for his brand, because he does these one-man shows and things like this. But in my personal opinion, it's a good thing, but I haven't said what it is. I think that this show sort of ended the Undertaker character.
Oh, it humanizes him. That's for sure. But he's I
think it started the Mark Calloway chapter of things, because he really came off as a person. Now, Undertaker, sort of like Trill and some other people, completely confident in himself. His presence, completely secure in himself, and there's nothing bad about that, except sometimes you don't adjust if you're, and I don't know if it's because he's 6'7" or whatever he is at this point, and was always sort of good to great at what he did. And I'm not saying it wasn't deserved by any means, but I found him to be a very even-keeled coach. He wasn't nearly as active when he said things. I felt like they were talking to like Lao Tzu instead of like the Undertaker. Like sometimes I want to see a little bit more fire out of him. Like he's not as like, for the guy who's supposed to be the locker room, judge and jury for 25 years, he seemed more like the wise man, which is not a bad thing. It just took me by surprise. But you can't argue with
A wise man who would like sneak in to look at what the other coaches were doing.
Yeah, he was a little sneaky, a little devious. He's got a wry little sense of humor. I mean, I really
He was hiding.
And it's so easy to stereotype. He's a big Texan. He's a dead man. He loves Vince McMahon. He's red state. But
he's got layers.
He's right. He's a person with layers, and he really made connections with the people. I don't think to the extent that Michelle did, but they're different people. But I don't know. I thought he was really good at this. I'm just not sure that whatever they're paying the Undertaker to do this, they need to pay the Undertaker to do this for 100,000 people watching a week, and they could pay someone else and put them on payroll and let Undertaker focus on booking AAA and maybe populating AAA, because once you get past a few people there, it's pretty thin on talent.
Mm-hmm.
In IMO, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I'm more of a CMLL guy than a AAA guy.
Yeah, I think he had a very calm, stoic, authoritative presence. Couldn't get that word out. And he was rarely emotional. Like there was a few times we saw, like you said, the funny things that were happening. And then earlier when we were talking about Booker T, he visibly looked angry, but he was, most of the time it was just very much the same type of emotion, but very commanding in most sense. And that's just with his demeanor. I think that we get that feeling from him. It emphasizes respect, just I think out of who he is, and then that mental control and professionalism. So with him, that authentic leadership, I think he leads more by example with his credibility and consistency, and that kind of creates that psychological stability with his team, and just that credibility that he has as a leader. Basic research shows that perceived expertise and composure really increases the confidence and performance from your team or your individuals that you have under you. So I think just having the amount of credibility that he has just really resonates with his team. And then just his emotional regulation, he really had a lot of self-control under any pressure. And that's, again, we don't really see a lot of emotion out of him. He stays pretty much the same emotion, and my husband's like that too. And I'm all over the place all the time, and I'm like, I don't understand how you can stay just so you never are too excited or too sad, and I'm all over the place. So I'm always amazed when people can stay like that. But yeah, so I think that that self-control, when people have leaders that are like that, they mimic whatever their leadership is a lot of times. And so when you have leaders like that, you can stay more calm under pressure as well. And I think that his team did that. I think that also really helped, say, Drake, for example, be focused and not feel the pressure as much, but then develop. And obviously it helped all of the team members, but Drake really stood out to me as well. You could really see his growth.
And he even said, throughout this season, I found me.
Yes.
He knows who he is. And like I mentioned before, you could see from match one until the end, he was a complete, new wrestler. He was so into it. His hits were great. He had confidence. You could see it. He played with the crowd, danced with the crowd when he was coming out. He knew his character. He knew, his all Bayou stick, it didn't look fake. It was it was him. So that really help, like, the fans or us watching wanting to be on his side and cheer for him. And I actually thought that in the match with Shiloh, the one-on-one they did where Taker was picking up a winner, I felt Drake was so much better than Shiloh on this one. And I was like, Taker, I was like, oh, so you have, you had that idea, so you keep it for consistency. I understand. But if we go match alone, I'm like, Drake's your guy. That's how.
And I agree with you on that one because I thought that Drake was way stronger, and I think that can also speak to how much do the wrestlers know of what was going to happen as far as who's picked, who's not picked, who's getting the points, who all of that, the plans, we'll say, because that may have led into their own performances as well, because I did not, in that match alone, I didn't think, and I'm a big Shiloh supporter. I follow him, he follows me, just to let my biases be known. But I didn't feel like that was Shiloh's. What's that?
No, I'm jealous.
Oh, I followed him for a long time, and he just followed me like a couple weeks ago.
I'm a very small, petty person.
Oh.
I mean, I'm sure you'll diagnose me at the end, and I'm sure that's going to be 30 minutes.
No, we love Shiloh. We love Shiloh too.
No, we do. I'm jealous. I'm not, I'm jealous because I want him to follow me.
Oh, well, maybe he will after this. So I didn't feel like that was necessarily his strongest performance. And so sometimes when I see things like that, I wonder if, what the outcome is going to be. If maybe, and again, subconsciously, this doesn't always happen consciously. Subconsciously, you're not really giving it your all. But then,
it's in the bag.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's possible. However, like knowing what I've seen of him, I don't think his work ethic is like that. But it can happen to the best of us as well. So who's to say?
It's a little strange that he didn't put in very good performances in the finals either time. But this season was, like night and day from last season. It's just that Drake was so good. What I think about Shiloh is he's got the personality, he's got the look. His social media presence is fantastic. He's got that YouTube thing that he does, and he does his whole dark web thing that it's like a whole industry. Like if he ever gets injured, he'll, he still is going to have a stream of income. He'll still be valuable to the company. He looks like Bray Wyatt, Bo Dallas, except he's tall and thin, but he's not that. He's a linebacker in college, but also like Trill, I think he knows exactly who he is, and I think he was emotionally very mature. Like I think he's another guy that he could be hard without changing anything about him. It was just natural, and then he could roll back again. If he needed to be hard, he'd go hard, and then when it was done, and that's just a talent that some people have, very few, and I think that might have been the winning hand for him. We talked a lot about that. I want to talk about the one thing, probably, if Undertaker had a failure, it has to be Bailey Humphries. Because what a physical specimen, what a sweet woman, but oh my God, I've not seen anyone that looks like that. And like, it didn't seem like he was giving attention. A couple times he said that he failed her. I know that I think that she was scarred by the fact that she choked out her own friend, sort of. Yeah. I don't know. Just what are your thoughts on that? And I know you can't diagnose anyone, or you don't know them well enough, but like, do you think like her tires were flattened and they're done, or do you think that somebody can pump up her tires again and because she should have a future in this business?
I agree with you. I think well, there was at one point when her and Danny both had 0 points, I think it was. And Undertaker was like, what do you think about that? And Bailey said, I think I perform better than she does. So she was very confident at that point. And then, Danny came back with her input of she felt that she was better. So, they had that back and forth, but, Bailey did show that confidence at that point. And I think you hit it right on when you said that took that out of her. I think she was scared at that point. She didn't want to hurt anybody. And fear can do a lot of things to a person. And that just takes, I think, some time, one, and two, just, I mean, as soon as you get through the time. I also think, I don't know what wrestlers have for counselors that are available to them in like these kind of industries at all, but I think that it should be there to deal with. I'm sure it's non-existent.
Tozawa is their counselor.
Tozawa.
I'm kidding.
I was like, I don't know. Maybe he's got a degree. Who knows?
Who knows? Yeah.
Who knows?
I was just saying the person who probably has the least English. You know, it's
Oh.
Oscar's their counselor. It's like she doesn't speak any English.
Kyrie.
She's not happy. She blows mist in their face and slaps them. If they're good, then he, you know.
Oh my God, do they turn blue like Smurfs? It's crazy. But
I do think that, you know, wrestlers should have.
Oh wait, we know the
especially in
counselor.
an industry this large should
It's
have.
Dr. Welby. Dr. Welby is the counselor from Team Hell No when he counseled Kane and Bryan Danielson.
Oh my God, wasn't it like Scorpio Sky?
No, his name was Dr. Welby. And then now I don't know who's the
Scorpio Sky.
wasn't Scorpio Sky, but Scorpio. Well, I could imagine because Scorpio Sky's lost also, so I could understand why you might confuse him for any other missing person. But then there was a different counselor who was counseling Alexa Bliss when she was Twisted Bliss.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yep.
But he was not nearly as effective as Dr. Welby. So.
Or the one that was giving counseling to Bo Dallas / Uncle Howdy.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Yep.
So many bad counselors. The only thing they have worse of than counselors in wrestling are lawyers. The wrestling lawyers are assholes.
We're just terrible people, aren't we, Jeff?
I know.
I'm not actually a counselor, so.
And I'm actually a lawyer, so.
Yeah.
So it works.
Yeah.
Oh my! I work in a prison, so I don't relate.
I'm very triumphant right here.
No, although I do read a lot of crazy stuff.
Yeah.
And the things you can put in a butthole, you would be surprised. But that's another story for another time, like prison talk with LuFisto.
Wrestling stew after dark.
After dark.
So we can have our own show on that one. Let's analyze some things you could put in a butthole.
Show ever.
A cellophone. Can you believe that? Yes, it happened. All right.
All right.
We finish on that. To finish on Bailey. Pretty much like you guys, I felt she was unique. She had a presence. But yeah, she was so afraid to hurt people that you would see it in her match where she would kind of not lay them in like completely. And we could see that she was very sensitive. And here I was asking myself, is she too sensitive for wrestling? Mm-hmm. But then again, it's something you can fix. You need to get in the ring and kind of, it's like when you have a car crash, go back in the car right now and try to kill it as soon as possible. Because if you wait, you're going to build the fear. It's going to build. It's going to be like even worse. So hopefully she could get past that. She needs more work. But what I really loved about her is how positive she was when Taker said, like, I believe you're going to be something special, but we have to wait. And she was like positive about it, positive about getting better, working hard, taking her time. And she doesn't seem scared, of the amount of work that is in front of her to get there. I think she wants, she wants to commit. And yeah, I really like that about her. Like it was like, it's not working now, but you know what? I'm going to work on it and eventually it will.
Yeah.
I felt almost a little bit of relief in her though. I mean, yeah, she's not scared, but partly because she knows she's not going to be on the big stage just yet. And I'm not sure. I mean, I'm sure that's natural to an extent. So luckily we have, somebody who might be able to weigh in that with an actual degree. So what do you think?
Yeah. I think she's just going to need more work, honestly, to get rid of that fear. And I think you were spot on with that, is that the more that you do something, the more that fear goes away and the more confidence you have in being able to do it. And maybe being, working with other people who have gone through that before, or getting coaching on those specific things that she has fears about with it. So that's just going to take time. But like you said, I don't take too much time away. If there's a little bit of time that she needs for a small break, sure. But I wouldn't suggest taking too much time away, because then you're just letting that fear take over you.
Yeah. Two-time loser in this doesn't mean loser for life, but I don't know. She's not the only one that was in 2 seasons, but I don't know. It almost seemed like she regressed. So I don't know. She could always be a bodyguard and doesn't have to wrestle much. I don't know how long of a career you can have with that, but you can. Anyway, I guess that leaves one person to talk about, and that's
Danny.
Danny. I don't know much to say. I think that she did everything well. I think she mostly had the right attitude. There were times where, like, her luchador thing was a lot of fun with the cheating. I thought it was bizarre that her sister has the same face of her, but okay.
They should be a twin tag team.
Yeah,
I wondered actually about that. Her sister's interested.
Very sweet, very nice, very happy. Exactly what you expect a cheerleader to be. Great footwork. I don't have any issue with her winning, except I don't think that she was the best. And even if she was the best, I don't think that she was the one that you could plug in as something new and different as a character tomorrow on TV, even on Evolve. I watch Evolve. I cover Evolve every week. I'm the only one. There's like 14 people who watch Evolve, and I think I'm 3 of them. So, but anyway, what's to say other than a girl who's always been coachable? She was a Penn State cheerleader. She's a Tennessee Titan cheerleader. She's coachable here.
I just felt like physically, like moving and everything. She pretty much had everything, but the expression, like on her face, would not like match the intensity of the hits. It's like she couldn't do both at the same time. Like sometimes she was, but most of the time, like I felt like, how many times we mentioned, is she a heel? Is she a face? At least in the last match, she was like full on baby face, smiling. But so many matches we were like, who is she? What's the character? Is she heel? Is she face? And then she would cheat. We would go like, I think she's face. She's heel. But then like she would do a comeback like a baby face. We're like, huh? So I just felt like, again, to go back on Panina, they both had things that needed work on, but I felt Panina was closer to not perfection, because I don't feel we can be perfect in wrestling, because there's always things to work on or evolve or change or modify, because wrestling is it's constantly changing. There's always an evolution. But yeah, to me, and even the last match, like so many of her things were sloppy. Panina was working a little bit too fast, but Danny, she didn't take the time to do things right. She would just go into the movement, and it looked like, I remember a crucifix didn't look good, like a tornado DDT. The Hell's Gate was a little bit rushed. Yeah. So I was like, put her on TV right now. I was like, no, not with this performance. And
yeah. But psychologically, I don't know that there's anything. Maybe it's more to psychoanalyze Shawn on this one than her. I don't think there's anything to say about her. I'm hardly the expert in that, but we have one.
Yeah, I don't really have a lot to say about, other than I think, I hit on this before, is sometimes when they're thinking about too much about the technical stuff, they miss the character work. And then when they're thinking too much about the character work, they're not focused as much on the technical skills. And that, I think, just comes with inexperience. So obviously, I think that we're going to see that more on this level. But I agree with you for Shawn to say, this is somebody I can plug in right now. The thing that irked me the most about that was then to not see her on the next episode of NXT 2 days later, because I was waiting for it and it didn't happen. Mm-hmm. And then I think the next week it didn't happen. So if you've got somebody you feel like you can plug in right now, why aren't you, and you're going to say that, why aren't you plugging him in right now? And that was for both of them. He basically said that on both of them. And so that was, from a viewer standpoint, I thought, well, if you're going to say that, you should then plug them in right now. I don't know. I know Danny posted something. I actually didn't get a chance to watch all of NXT this last Tuesday, but I don't know if she was on or not. She said something about,
No,
she was not on it. Okay.
No, but
she
some of them
posted
have been
something on
on
her
the
socials
tour.
about.
Some of them have been on the house shows.
Oh, okay. Well, she posted something about Tuesday to make sure to watch because it was going to be Danny Tuesday, and she wasn't on. So
maybe she was cut.
And
Yeah,
maybe her sister was on. I don't know.
maybe. But yeah, so I just think that if you're going to, your actions and your words should be matching. And that was a big problem with how I'm just going to jump right into that. That was,
I was going to say
problem.
that's something that really interests me, especially in Harlem's case, the way he puts him on the, like I'm talking about Sean, he puts Harlem on the pedestal, how he is money, different, unique, believable, and then, but I'm going to pick Shiloh. And I was like, because this is really something that happened a lot in my own career where you made that match look great. You're fantastic, blah, blah, blah. Oh, we're going to sign her and your opponent, whatever. And I was like, or my partner, whatever. And I was like, what's wrong with me? Nothing. You're perfect. And I'm like, but, I was like, and that's like, I could feel like Harlem's pain because I was like, you were just told that you are the thing right now, but then pick the other one. And I was like, I know how it feels. And I was like, oh my God, I don't know in your expertise, if there's anything to explain to, I don't know how or why people do this, but it sucks.
It does suck. I've had it happen to me, not in the wrestling sense, but I've had somebody tell me that I was the perfect fit for this position. But then they didn't hire me and they reposted the job. And I was like, well, what? So it wasn't even that they picked somebody else. They just reposted the position. So I was like, okay. And I don't know if there's a possibility that it's just that he wanted to, or in any of these cases, that they want to build that person up and they don't want to lose them. And so that's why they're saying all these things. That would be my first instinct, is what it is they're setting it up for, or he was setting it up for, why you're going to see him next year is because, or next season, is because we think he's that good. You're going to see him next season. And I think he'll probably win next season. That would be my guess.
I think he's already passed it. I think that he's in Noah right now with Charlie Dempsey. So, clearly they're doing some coaching and probably some humility and doing that there. But obviously they trust him to go there and to work with Noah. And so because I think early on in the season, I actually think I said to Lou, I said, I don't know that Harlem is going to win. I think he's too green, but I'll make a prediction now. I think he's winning season 3. And so, obviously, well, I might be wrong. You might be right. And Jeff from then might still be right. I could be misreading the entire Noah thing, but I think when they send you there that they're not putting you back on LFG, but what do I know? Anyway, I have one more serious question. Then we're going to have a little fun. And this is sort of a writ large thing. And again, I'm sure that the answer varies greatly from person to person. But if you lose, especially if you've been on 2 seasons, and then you get released, how do you recover from that? How does somebody recover from that, or do they?
So I think it comes down to somebody asking themselves, and this is how they I think should recover, is ask yourself, is this the field for me? First off, because at this point they are, I would hope, so young and so new into the business that they have that time to make a change. It's not like we don't see, like, I went back to school when I was 30, for example. We don't see people making like lifelong changes way into their 30s, 40s, right? So these are people who are, 20s. So they have a chance to say, is this what I really want? And if it is, not everybody's going to make it on one of the biggest stages or companies that's out there. So they have so many other opportunities. And I would hope that they took that opportunity to showcase so that they could go to some of these other opportunities. And then it's, reaching out to find what other ways they can make themselves better with some coaching, some of these different centers that are out there, And so I think it's the mindset that somebody might have. And so if you've got a mindset like somebody like Trill, for example, who is going to get that done no matter what, and I'm not saying Trill's going to be somebody that we won't see, but he's got that right mindset. Now, if you've got somebody who is maybe not so sure if they would continue, maybe they have a little bit of a weaker spirit, maybe a little bit more sensitive, and I'm not going to name anybody out on that one because I just feel like that would be too mean of me. That person might need to really seriously consider whether or not that's the right field for them then.
I think that is an excellent segue into BJ Ray. And I'm going to say that I'm going to let Lou and Gina handle this whole thing because I'm sure you can do a better job than I can of it.
Well, I didn't, there's not much, but it's because everything, like, I think it goes together when it comes to BJ. Not only did I watch season 2 with him, but there was also another show where the tryouts where he was chosen were like, and even his partner from his amateur wrestling team, Dark State, what's his name again? I always forget.
Cutler James.
Here you go. Like, they had a tryout and both were picked. And well, you see Cutler James is on TV right now, and BJ has been struggling down in LFG season 1, now season 2. And from the 3 seasons I've watched, the other show and this one, he's still arrogant. He doesn't take anything seriously. He thinks he's better than he is. And most of all, he doesn't listen. If somebody tells him to do something, he says, like, that's not going to work. I'm BJ Ray. I'm going to do this. And in the end, it ends up that he's not progressing at all. And it's like he believes he has it figured out, but obviously, like, not. Like, none of his matches were stellar. Most of them were not good. Like, when he had, like, passable matches, I would say it's because he was with somebody really good, like either Shiloh or Anthony Luke. Mm-hmm. But besides that, it was like, we were even talking, Jeff and I, that he should be a manager maybe because he's got the mouth. But then again, I was like, probably he would steal the heat from the freaking match because he's so me. So he got released. And I'm not surprised because I've been saying it all season. I don't see things getting better when it comes to attitude or wrestling. He and like we were talking about is the way he was dressing, and he didn't want to change. Like, we would see like Serena got new gear, and Harlem went from those generic barbed wire pants that you buy on High Spot to have like shorts, and like they would change stuff if they were told. But BJ Ray looked like a paper boy and wouldn't change it. Even when he was heel or face, he was doing the same thing, or in my veins or whatever. That's supposedly so cool with the kids. But I mean, a few kids were doing it, but most of the crowd was like, what the fuck is that? And like my old self had no clue. I was like,
right. Also, it's not like injecting yourself is a positive.
Cocaine, but
You heard about haze and a drunk gimmick injecting into my veins?
Yes.
Well, the funny thing is that's actually the sign language for coke, like cocaine, coke. And so you have to be aware of things like that when you come up with signs like that,
Yeah, I'm guessing he was. He is someone, I know I promised I wasn't going to say it. Well, I didn't promise. I said I wasn't going to say anything, and I lied, but I always lie. I'm a big liar.
You're
I
a
think
lawyer.
I think lies. I think that when we were talking earlier about someone who knew they were going to lose and self-sabotage subconsciously or otherwise, I think he did it. I think he knew he was self-sabotaging. I don't think it was subconscious. And the proof in the pudding was the penultimate episode where they did the whole thing with Drake Moreau and Elijah Holyfield and Bubba. So it was clearly a work. He was clearly in on it. And that's the one time it seemed like he was listening and he was a team player. So I think he knew it was more serious than he thought it was going to be. And he's not that guy.
Yeah, I think at that point he said, if I'm out, this is how I want it to go. Can I at least get Bubba in the ring? I think that was, he wanted to try and take control of that situation a little bit. And I agree with you.
I think the manager idea is great. I think he would be a terrific manager. And while he's not that great a wrestler, he's a manager. He's good enough to be a manager, takes bumps and trains for one match a year or something when it's a trios match, or like every 3 years where like the GM or the commentator who used to be a wrestler get into it with him. And that's, the WrestleMania match or the Backlash match.
Wade Barrett kicks his ass.
Right. Wade Barrett or Nick Aldis finally says, I've had enough, whatever. It's like, or I'm not going to say John Cena. Let's just say that, I don't know, Jericho comes back, but he's retired. Jericho unretires to teach him a lesson. He's perfect for that. So I think he could work in this business, and maybe he is. I just don't think he's ever going to take it seriously enough to be a wrestler. And while he's young and I've seen him in good shape, I think his biggest risk is the same as mine, which is letting all your muscles turn to fat.
Well, I think his other problem is that he leads with emotion. Just take it from there. That's all right.
And that emotion is smugness.
Well,
excellence.
I mean, there's a lot to it. So, like, you can feel that from his energy from wanting to prove himself, like, so deeply. It's also like to a level where his ego takes over, and his identity is so wrapped up in how he performs that every critique that he gets is personal. It's a personal attack on him. So that's what I mean by he leads with emotion. He's got clear achievement motivation. Like he definitely has that drive and grit, but the problem is he has no or very little emotional regulation. Like he just doesn't know how to regulate. And I mean, I could go on and on about this generation right now, but it's a problem, I would say, of a lot of people in that age group of not being able to regulate emotions. And I could go into a whole reason why, but the emotional regulation with him is a struggle, and self-control. He just says whatever's on his mind, it seems like, and there's no self-control. I mean, I'm thinking back to like his interaction with Charlotte Flair was so inappropriate. I mean, it was funny, but it was, well, what are you doing? This is your one chance to do this, and that's what you chose to do. Like, it's just like your authenticity versus your impulse. Your impulse is taking over, and you're not letting your true self come out. You're letting this egotistical person take over who you really are. And so I think that was his major downfall. But as far as like a manager or like somebody like a Paul Heyman, like if he could work with Paul Heyman, I think he could be really strong like that. But it would take some work to get there. So he can maybe build up a thicker skin, because otherwise I don't know that he could take it. Like Paul Heyman has, again, years and years of experience, but he's got a very thick skin, like probably a little too thick. But I think that if he could work with somebody like that, that might be a good route for him to go. because he's got a mouth on him. I think that if he, learned how to talk the right way, he could actually be really good in that. And we're going to need more of that type of a person here, probably soon.
Yeah,
managers going to want to retire at some point.
Yeah, managers is like a lost art. There's not enough of them. And I like that you mentioned how people would get criticized that they take it personal. Because yesterday in the news, in my area, the Montreal area, there's actually a coach that came out and mentioned, like, he wrote that big letter to the world to publish everywhere, where he was saying, like, I don't know what to do anymore because I'm trying to teach these kids to be better and to push their boundaries and, have confidence. But every time I tell them something, they take it personal, and even the parents too. So, so you think I'm not good? You think I'm not worth it? It's an attack every time, but he's like trying to, make them better. Or if he tells a kid, like, I'm not going to bring you to the league that's like a little bit superior because you're not there yet. I want you to learn, get your basics right. But they see it as an attack, as him being like not good and a piece of shit, when he's actually protecting the kid because he's not up to that level yet.
Right.
And how do you deal with that? Because it's really everywhere. And like I said,
it is everywhere.
This was also like it was a cry for help from a coach, a teacher who's like, I don't know how to teach anymore because I can't say anything.
Yeah. And this is, it's everywhere. It's even like, in the colleges, students, there's a subset. I wouldn't say it's all of them, but there's a subset of students that think that they are automatically entitled an A if they just did the work. Mm-hmm. Doesn't matter if it's deserving of an A. They just think that I did the work, I handed it in, you give me an A. And no, that's not how this works. If you missed this and this, you don't get an A, you get a B, and I clearly show that. But I think it just takes full explanation and being firm and being consistent. And the more that you are like that, the more that people will come to understand that that is just how it is and be able to learn how to cope with that, hopefully. But it really does start with, I'm going to just go into it. It starts with the parenting from the beginning of time, from day one, and being consistent. And, there's children need to learn how to self-soothe, and they need to be exposed to things, and they need to, be exposed to like all of the circumstances. Don't shield your child from everything. And that needs to happen throughout life so that they can understand how to cope, how to deal with things, how to self-regulate your emotions, all of that. And that starts with, when a baby is crying, when do you pick them up all of the time, or do you let them cry a little bit and then after a little bit they'll stop? And I don't mean like leave them crying for half an hour, but that's how we've gotten to this point, I think. I
think you're right. And obviously you're the expert in it, but I'm the oldest one here. And honestly, a lot of people say blame the lawyers. I think in this case, there's a lot to be said for that, because it started with liability, that you could sue for everything. And that's also a failure of our policymakers, who did not institute insulation and immunity for schools and school people acting within good faith. Like the standard needs to be reckless, outrageous, up to the level of criminal. You don't want pedophiles in there and teachers hitting kids unless they're defending themselves, but teachers can't take phones away. You've got we became like to be oppressed was that was always, if you were the weaker one, you were being oppressed, as opposed to sometimes you're just the weaker one. It's like we removed, rightfully so, stigmas from so many things that it almost became ideation. I remember when I was in middle school, nobody wanted to have braces until most people had braces. Then everyone wanted to have braces. Who wants to have braces? But you wanted to feel in. I think there's something like a victim ideation now culturally, and it bleeds into everything. And I think some of it, they call it helicopter parents, sort of Jean Benet Ramsey's, the pageant moms, and like I was talking about with the parents with second guess everything that their kid's baseball coach does and things like that. And there's no one there to say no to them. They became the heroes, and because everything is good, everyone is fine, and everyone is good and everyone's fine, just not in all the same things. We all fit into something, and at some point we confuse equality of as everyone gets to do the same thing, as opposed to equality as everyone has the opportunity to try to find their way in this world. And that's probably all that I should say about that, without getting, this is this an entire field of sociology and whatever that's outside of my scope. But I think some people being the victim is the cool thing to be these days.
Yeah, it's just being part of that in group.
Luckily, I've never been in group. And speaking of that, so fun thing, getting off of this little soapbox, which could only get us in trouble, I suppose.
Yeah.
Not
I was like, quick, change the subject.
Right.
Back to BJ Ray.
No, we're off of BJ Ray, but we're on to us. So, Gina, you spent the last 6.5 hours with us, or however long it's been. You've listened to a couple of the shows. Psychoanalyze us. Like, how do we do as dime store psychologists? How do we interact with you? How do we interact with each other? Is it true that LuFisto's secretly in love with me? Let's.
I think that last one you're a little off on. I think you guys interact with each other in a very healthy way. I love the dynamics. I love the dynamics. As far as your dime store psychology, I think you guys are fairly in the right direction, we'll say.
What?
Yeah. I think I maybe just put some terminology on it and expanded on it, but you guys were pretty spot on. I've always said psychology is really just kind of common sense.
Nice.
I really think it is. It's human behavior. It's common sense. There's just some big terminology that you can throw on it to explain certain behaviors. And once you know all that, then I guess you're an expert. But yeah, I think you guys have a great dynamic and a wonderful show.
Oh, thank you. Well, thank you so much for being here, lending your expertise, being so patient, answering all of our questions and not scoffing at any of them. I think we covered serious and silly in an appropriate balance.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Thank you for having me.
I'm thrilled. We'd love to have you back again, except I don't know when LFG season 3 is going to start, but I know it's been renewed. But yeah, listen, you know how to reach me. I know how to reach you. I'm sure you can reach Lou as well. And yeah.
Speaking of reaching, how can people reach you or follow you on social media?
Excellent. Thank you. I am on social media. I'm on X. It's at IOG Psych. I don't know, not dot, but at IOG Psych. And on Instagram, I just started my Instagram account, so there's not really a whole lot there, but it's Dr._IOG Psych. And so those are the two places right now. Tomorrow I am, if I can do a little plug, if you don't mind, I'm going to a screening for Raven, the Nevermore, the Raven Effect. And they've asked me to come watch the screening and do a psych analysis of that. And so I'll look for an article out on X, at least on X. I'm going to try and publish it elsewhere as well, but look for that probably next week. So,
excellent. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, Lou went to a screening last week of Luna Vachon's movie. You went to Raven. I guess I'm due for something, probably.
Yeah.
There's SmackDown tomorrow.
So,
is it tomorrow? No. We're
Friday?
we're Friday.
I know all day today I've been, what day is it?
Yeah, same.
I don't care what day it is. Pass. No, thank you. Not interested.
Jeff, where can people follow you?
You can find me on the X at dose_evil. You can find me here on Wrestling Soup and the Wrestling Soup and Friendos feed, where we do Dose of Chocolate, where we review Evolve. As far as I know, we're the only podcast that's dedicated primarily to Evolve. It might be true, it might not be. I don't really care either way, but give it a listen. Join the other 6 people who listen to it on the download. Though actually I saw on the YouTube, like it's spread in 3 places. Like on the YouTube channel, like I think like 30 people watched it, which is weird because we're not on screen. Anyway, my shows are called Garden of Thought, GOT. You can find it anywhere where podcasts are. There's sort of the 3 faces of them. Just figure 2 of them are a little bit like the Joe Rogan Experience, without the celebrity, without the utter embrace of conspiracy, without the broness, and certainly without the success. And then I have the Gospel of Thomas, which is my co-host right now is Mr. Thomas from Major League Wrestling. It started as the Book of Black, because my co-host then was PJ Black, who you might know as Justin Gabriel. And I've had Akira Kwan's been a guest co-host. Vinny Pacifico's been a guest co-host, but it's mostly Thomas. Lou's been on the show. And we just had, I'm really excited, my first reigning, defending world champion. We've had former champions, Tyra CC3, probably others. Mads Atrocity Cruel Kruger, the reigning MLW champion, was on the show. And he liked me so much, as is wont to happen, that he's going to come on Garden of Thought and review Alien Earth with me on Garden of Thought. And somehow my friend from grade school, who actually I don't think we were friends until like the last 10 years, Joey Restivo, worked his way into singing. He doesn't even like wrestling. But yeah, Mads Kruger reviewing Alien Earth with 2 thumbs in this guy. So BJ Ray, take that.
Well, I feel like I don't have anything interesting to say, but you can follow me on Instagram, LuFisto at Arts and Wrestling and Pro Wrestling. Sorry, LuFisto. I mean, Facebook.com/LuFisto. I'm LuFisto at X. And I love how classy the IWC is. It's a wonderful place. Oh my God.
Sarah Stock agrees. Gail, Kim Levine agrees.
Oh, sweet Lord, baby Jesus. I spend my nights with my cats. That's what I do now. I watch a lot of wrestling. I love to talk about wrestling. And speaking of wrestling, follow the Wrestling Soup. Subscribe to the Patreons, give them a like and a subscribe on YouTube. You can go to my YouTube, LuFisto Official, where I keep putting matches like every freaking day. I want to release my whole library. I have 28 years of matches. Somehow, some way, I'm going to make it if I don't die before, because it takes too long. But here it is. That's pretty much it for us, because the season is over. But LFG 3 is coming. Please let us know if you like the show, if there's anything you would like us to do, talk about, come back for season 3, or I don't know, a special like BJ episode or the BJ show, or that sounds weird because I could tell it could mean something else, but we're not like that. I mean, anyway, it's been.
Do you know what I'm talking about? See what I was talking about?
That's what makes it so great.
So, ladies and gentlemen, for the last time, for now, you know how it goes. Boil them, fry them, put them in a stew. Boil them, fry them, put them in a stew. Boil them, fry them, put them in a stew like potatoes. LFG season 2 done. Bye-bye.
You, my friends.
Put them in a stew, boil them, fry them. Put them in a stew, boil them, fry them. Put them in a stew, boil them, fry them. Put them in a stew.